Hi dear students, so today we'll be doing the next chapter from Flamingo, chapter 3rd, which is Deep Water, written by William Douglas. And when we start the chapter, we'll be doing a bit about the author, we'll be doing the gist of the lesson, we'll be doing the meanings of the expressions that are given, explanation we'll be doing, we'll be going page wise, and then we'll be explaining it, and then we'll do the in-text questions, which are very important from the board's point of view. You need to know all the answers to the in-text questions, and then if any literary devices we come across, we will discuss it, we'll do a quick recap, and then we'll do the question and answers. So this is what we are going to do. So let us just start with the author first. The author of this particular chapter is William Douglas. His full name was William Orwell Douglas. He was born in Maine, Minnesota, and he was an American. And after graduating with a bachelor's degree, he in English and economics, he spent almost 2 years teaching in high school in Yakima. And this the place Yakima is on the river Yakima flows, so that's why this name is there, Yakima, which and this river has a main you can say a role to play in the chapter. And he got tired of teaching in the school and decided to pursue a legal career. And when he did that, he met Franklin D. Roosevelt at Yale. And Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was the president of United States, we all know. And he met him at Yale and became an advisor and a friend of his. And he was a leading advocate of individual rights. And he retired in 1975 with a term lasting 36 years and remains the longest serving justice in the history of the court. And this particular chapter is an excerpt from his in a book which was titled Of Men and Mountains. And it reveals the story about young William Douglas, and it's basically his own story when he had a near drowning experience in the pool. And he talks about how it affected his life, and how he overcame the fear that he had of water. And how important it is for everyone to understand that you need to get over your own fears if you really need to succeed in life. So William Douglas did exactly that, and that is what he tries to teach in this particular chapter, Deep Water. And in this it is actually a short excerpt from the whole book. So he talks about his fear of water, and thereafter how he overcame it. And it obviously it is an autobiographical discussion. So we will be doing just that, and a little more about Douglas was confirmed at the age of 40, one of the youngest justices. That's one more important thing about him. And in 1975, in the Times magazine, called him the most committed civil libertarian ever to sit on the court. So these are few things that are very important. He was a bureaucrat, you can say that. And very important things about William Douglas, not that it really comes in the exams, just for you all to know. So that was about William Orwell Douglas, and he was born in 1898 and he died in 1980. He was born on October 16th and he died on January 19th. So let's discuss about the meanings here. So let's see. First is treacherous. So the meaning of treacherous is something which is, kind of dangerous or deceitful, you can say. So you can, say, maybe you can write dangerous. I think that would be better to call treacherous as dangerous. So that's what it's called. It is called dangerous. And next is misadventure. So misadventure means some kind of an accident, you can say. It is some kind of an accident, misadventure. So you can write accident, that's accident. Then you have subdued my pride. That's the next one, subdued my pride. So subdued my pride means a feeling of you just control your, or you subdue means you hide your feeling of pride. Subdued my pride means to hide the feeling of pride. So you can say consoled, yeah, hide or consoled. You can say consoled, you can say consoled the feeling of pride. That means you did not show your pride. That is what it actually means. Console the feeling of pride, that is what it means. Then bob to the surface. So that's another one that is there. Bob to the surface, that means to come up to the surface. Bob to the surface means to come up to the surface like a cork. Cork, it's very light. The bottle covers are made of, it's kind of wooden material. It's very, very light. So bob to the surface like a cork means to come up to the surface like a cork. So that's the meaning for bob to the surface like a cork. That's it. Then flailed at the surface. The next one is like flailed at the surface. Flailed at the surface means to hit the surface. That is what it means, to hit the surface. Flailed at the surface means to hit the surface of something. Hit the surface. Flailed the surface means hit the surface. Curtain of life fell. That's another one. The next one, the curtain of life fell. So curtain of life fell means you can say that you're unconscious. So becoming unconscious is curtain of life fell. Next is fishing for landlocked salmon. So fishing for landlocked salmon. Salmon is the kind of fish, and they are found in the fresh water. So kind of fishing for that fish in a kind of fresh water area which is locked by on all the sides by the stones or the rocks or something. That's there. And back and forth across the pool, that going to and fro the pool. So these are the meanings. And now let's do the first part of the chapter. This happened. So he talks about the first incident that happened, and that first incident happened when he was about 10 years old. So he talks about that, and he says that it had happened when I was 10 years old, or 10 or 11 years old. So that is what he did. And I had decided to learn to swim. He decided to learn to swim, and then he the first place he wished to go to learn swimming was the YMCA pool. In Yakima he used to stay, and that was the pool where he could go and learn swimming. So he went there, and Yakima river actually was very, very treacherous. And I told you treacherous means it was dangerous, and the mother just warned him against going to the river to do any kind of swimming. And that was kind of that had an impression on his mind, and he felt that each when he heard about the drowning cases in the river, it was he felt scared about going to the river. So he felt that YMCA pool was safe, because there was a reason why he felt that. It was kind of 2 or 3 feet deep at the shallow end, then around 9 feet at the deep end, but the drop was gradual, and he it was kind of safe that ways. And then he was surrounded by people most of the time, and there were lifeguards, and So he thought that that was the safest thing to do. But of course, he used to wear those water wings when he went to the pool. Water wings are, the floats that you put on the arms to help you like float and learn swimming. So that he used to wear, and the only thing that he hated was that he did not wish to, kind of walk there. But there was a reason for that also, and he felt that, the reason was that he was kind of wearing the swimming trunks, and his legs were too skinny, and he did not feel nice about walking naked there. Almost he was not just wearing the swimming trunks, and the legs were like very, very skinny. But he subdued his pride means he consoled himself and said it's okay, because he needed to learn to swim. So that is the reason he actually started learning swimming at the YMCA pool. This is the Yakima River, which the mother always used to talk about, that it was very, very dangerous, and like many, many drowning cases had been there. So this is kind of had an indelible impression on his mind, and he felt scared about it, and he did not want to go there. So these are the few things that he thought of, and that is why he thought that YMCA pool was the best thing to do, whether it was the best thing where he could learn swimming. So there was one thing that he always troubled him, was that he had an aversion towards water. The reason being, there was a certain reason. The reason was that when he was 3 years old, 3 or 4, whatever, and his father took him to the beach in California. That was the first incident that actually scared him of water. So he went to the beach in California, and then the father was surfing, and he was standing on that surf with him. Like it's written here that he stood together in the surf, and he just clung on to him. The waves were like kind of high, and they knocked him down and swept over him. So he did not know swimming. So he was buried under the water, and his breath had gone. So that frightened him. So that was the fear that was, for the first time, he faced as a 3 or 4 year old child. Though the father felt that it was, kind of a funny thing. So father just laughed it off. But actually that, had this impression on the mind that he just had an aversion towards water. So now he decided that, okay, I have this aversion, and now I wish to learn swimming like other friends, and I just need to enjoy at the pool, and I need to enjoy the water sports that the children indulge in. So that is the reason he decided to learn swimming. So his my introduction to YMCA swimming pool revived those unpleasant memories of his childhood. So he kind of was kind of scared, yes, but still he tried to overcome. He gathered confidence. He paddled with the new water wings that he had, the floats that he had on his arms. He watched the other boys and was trying to learn by aping them. Aping as in copying them. Aping, this word comes from the noun ape, monkey. So that's basically copying. So he did this 2 or 3 times on different days, and was just beginning to feel at ease in the water when the misadventure happened. As I told you, misadventure meaning accident. So the accident happened. So that kind of scared him even more, that he just stopped coming near water. So you can call it hydrophobia, you can call it aquaphobia. So this phobia was there when he was growing up. So the second incident that happened, the first, when it happened, he was just 3 or 4 years old at the California beach. Then the second happened. The second, when it happened, he went to the pool on one day. He was kind of there at the pool, and everything was quiet. Not many people were there. In fact, he was kind of alone. So, and water was still, and the tiled bottom was as white and clean as a bathtub. So I was talking about the literary devices, as white and clean as a bathtub. So when we use, for comparison, words like as, so this literary device is simile. He says that he was timid. Timid means he was like scared, meek, you can say, about going in alone. So he was just sitting on the side of the pool waiting for others to join in, and then he thought he would go and swim. So at that time, a big bruiser of a boy, big bruiser means huge looking boy, a muscular boy, came there, and that boy was 18 years old. He had thick hair on his chest, and this poor thing was just 10, 11 years old, such a skinny guy. And this was the really well built boy. And this big bruiser, children, the literary device I told you about, like earlier, it was the simile, and this is here alliteration, big bruiser of a boy. He was a beautiful physical specimen with legs and arms that showed rippling muscles. You could see the muscles, well-built guy. And this poor guy was such a meek fellow and such a weak fellow. And high skinny, that is what he called him. So he was like kind of very, very, kind of making fun of him. So that's what he called him. And then when he just called this guy and just asked him, like the kind of bullying, he was kind of bullying him, and he asked him, how would you like to be ducked? Ducked means to be thrown in the water. So he just asked him, and before this poor thing could reply or react, he just picked him up and tossed him into the deep end. And he had hardly learned to swim, and he he did not know swimming. He was just doing the basic things with the water wings. So he just landed in the sitting position, down swallowed so much of water, and just went down to the bottom. And he was so frightened that he says he was frightened out of his wits, that he could not think of anything. But still, when we are in danger, we try to survive. And that is what he thought, that he needs to survive. So he just made a plan. As he was going down, he thought that when his feet hit the bottom, he would make a big jump, come onto the surface, paddle to the edge of the pool, and then would save himself. That's what he thought. But it was too long, it seemed, the way down, and it was almost 9 feet. It's given in the beginning itself that it was almost 9 feet down, and it seemed to him that it was like 90 feet. And before he touched the bottom, his lungs were all ready to burst because he had swallowed so much water. But when his feet actually hit the bottom, he tried to gather. Summoned means he gathered all his strength and made what he thought would be a great spring upwards, and he thought that he would bob to the surface like a cock, that he would just come up to the surface like a cock, which is very light. But it actually did not happen. He came up very, very slowly. He opened his eyes and saw nothing. It was just water all around him. Just water. Because he was coming up very slowly. Water, and that had a dirty yellow tinge to it. I grew panicky. He grew panicky. It was dirty yellow tinge because, kind of when you touch the water, it's kind of slime is also there. So everything came into the water, and it seemed very, very dirty. And he kind of panicked, and he tried to grab the rope that was there, but the only thing that his hands clutched was water. He was suffocating. He tried to yell, but no sound came out. So that was his feeling. So this is also an important question, that how did he feel while he was just going down? Then he says that, his eyes, nose came out of water, but his mouth did not. So he could hardly breathe. So he was just feeling really more suffocated. He flailed at the surface of the water, swallowed and choked. Flailed at the surface of the water, that means he just hit the surface of the water. He did hit, but his mouth did not come out. It was still, he was feeling suffocated. He tried to bring up his legs, but they hung as dead weights. That means paralyzed, rigid. They were not moving at all because of the fear that he had. Though he tried his best, the legs seemed heavy, and he felt that a great force was pulling him under. He screamed, but only water heard him. Nobody could hear his screams because the voice was very, very meek, very, very low. So it was not heard by anyone. Then again, he started going down. So this was the second time that he was going down. I struck at the water as I went down, expending my strength as one in a nightmare fights an irresistible force. That means he was expending his strength, and it seemed that in the nightmare, if you have a nightmare, you're trying to fight some force and you're still not able to, do it, and somebody is stopping you, somebody is, pulling you. So that kind of feeling he had. So this is an important question, that what were his feelings when he was going down, or when he was kind of drowning. Okay. Irresistible force means some force which you cannot stop. His lungs ached, his head throbbed, he was getting dizzy. Dizzy means unconscious. But still, he made efforts to come up. He thought that he would lie flat on the water, strike out with arms, and thrash with his legs. Then I would get to the edge of the pool and be safe. He thought that, and he tried it one more time. He went down endlessly. I opened my eyes, nothing but water with a yellow glow. Dark water that one could not see through. And then sheer stark terror seized me. Sheer stark terror. This is one thing, one literary device, that is alliteration, and it is exaggeration. Sheer stark terror, extreme terror. So that is what he felt. Terror that no one can understand who has not experienced it. I was shrieking underwater. He was paralyzed. He was stiff, he was rigid with fear. Even screams in his throat were frozen. Only my heart was pounding in my head. So, he did not know what was happening. He was feeling dizzy, and his, only he could hear his heartbeats, and that too, the pounding in my head said that he was still alive. Pounding as in his head was aching, and his heartbeat he could hear, and he thought that this tells me that I'm still alive. And then in the midst of the terror came a touch of reason. I must remember to jump when I hit the bottom. So this was the third time he tried. I felt the tiles under me. My toes reached out as if to grab. I jumped with everything I had, but the jump made no difference. So again, the same thing. The water was still around him. He could not find the ropes, ladders, water wings. He tried looking for everything, but nothing worked out. His legs did not move. He tried to call, now his mother for help, but nothing happened. Okay. Now, and next is, and then strangely, there was light. I was coming out of awful yellow water. At least my eyes were. My nose was almost out too. Then I started down a third time. So third time he started going down. He sucked a lot of air. The yellowish light was going out. Then all the efforts ceased. He relaxed because now he thought he had given up. He thought that he was going to die. So he just relaxed because he knew nothing what he could do now to save himself. So now he kind of gave up, and that's how he just relaxed. And the moment he relaxed, his legs felt light, and a blackness swept over his brain, and it wiped out fear. and it wiped out terror, because now he felt that his end had come near. So he just gave up everything, and he did not know what to do, and he just relaxed, and his legs were, lifeless. There was no life in them. They felt very, very light. It seemed as if they were not there, and there was no panic, and it was quiet and peaceful. Nothing to be afraid of. This is nice, to be drowsy, to go to sleep, no need to jump. This was happening because he thought that he was just going to die now. He was too tired to jump, and he did not want to try, because he now felt relaxed, and he felt that the tender arms of of his mother now were just trying to, pacify him, and he just wanted to sleep, because he had just given up hope. I must go to sleep. I crossed to oblivion, and the curtain of life fell. That means he fell unconscious. I crossed to oblivion means when you are not aware of your surroundings, nothing you are aware of. So that is what is called, oblivion. So that is what he felt. The next I remember, so that was, he fell unconscious, and when he gained consciousness, he was lying on his stomach, and he was vomiting, and beside the pool he was, and the chap that threw me in was saying that, but I was only fooling. Someone said the kid nearly died. Be all right now. Let's carry him to the locker room. Now somebody saved him. The lifeguard probably saved him. He was pumping out water from his stomach, and he was vomiting out water, and he heard somebody scolding that big bruiser of the boy. Okay, so that is what he we felt that he was doing. He felt that he was kind of conscious now, and he realized that he could not walk, and he had wobbly knees. He was trembling, and even hours later when he was walking home, he felt that he was very, very weak, and he could not walk properly, and he was trembling. He shook and cried when I lay on my bed. I could not eat that night. For days a haunting fear was there in my heart. The slightest exertion upset me, making me wobbly in the knees and sick to my stomach. So these are the immediate effects that he had of that incident, of that misadventure. Okay. Let's quickly discuss these in-text questions. What is the misadventure that William Douglas speaks about? The misadventure is that when the big bruiser of a boy just ducked him in the water, and he had a near-death experience. You can elaborate on the experience that he had a bit. What were the series of emotions and fears that Douglas experienced when he was thrown into the pool? What plans did he make to come on the surface? So I just discussed with you when I was explaining the series of emotions that he had. The series of emotions were that he wanted to make one last effort and jump and come on the surface and just try to grab the edge and save himself. And then again, second time, he wanted to try with the full, but he was not able to do it. He thought that he would, but he was not able to. When third time he tried to come up, and he felt that now it was all over, he was too tired. So then he felt his mother's tender arms around him. Everything around him was peaceful. He did not want to move. He just wanted to relax and sleep. So that was the time he felt that he did not want to save himself. He felt that he was going to die, and that is the reason that he relaxed, and he kind of started floating and just fell unconscious. And that is the time someone saw him and kind of helped him, save him. Okay, so that were the series of emotions that he had. And how did this experience affect him? So when I say how did this experience affect him, this is what the effect is, the immediate effect, that he felt weak, he was trembling, he cried. When he laid on the bed, he could not eat that night. For days a haunting fear was there in his heart, and the slightest of exertion upset him, making him wobbly in the knees and sick in the stomach, and he feared water. He froze every time he went near to the water body. So these were the effects that this experience had on him. I never went back to the pool. He never went back to the pool. He feared water. I avoided it whenever I could. A few years later, when I came to know the waters of the Cascades, now few years later he came to know about a water park called the Waters of the Cascades, and he wanted to get into them. He wanted to try those rides, and whenever I did, whether I was wading the Titan or bumping river or bathing in the warm lake of the Goat Rocks, the terror that seized me in the pool would come back. So every time he went near a water body, that fear would grab his heart. It says, I see horror. Again, hyperbole. I see horror would grab his heart, and he just decided not to enjoy all these water rides. So it was a sad thing for him that he could not enjoy these water rides. Now, this handicap stayed with me as as the years went by. This fear of water was there. He could not go on the canoes. He could not go to the main lakes fishing for landlocked salmon. So these were the fishing trips that he could not enjoy and he did not like, and all those kind of things. He kind of did not feel that he could enjoy. He always felt scared about all the things. So this is with one drawback that he had, or one kind of, you can say, effect also, but the major effect was the immediate effect. But this was over the years that he could not enjoy himself. So he could not go for the water rides, he could not go to the other places, and he could not go for kind of any swim or anything, and he felt sad about it. So this is what you can write when the question comes that what did he, as he grew up, what were the effects on him? This is what he could not enjoy. The bass fishing in the New Hampshire, trout fishing, and Deschutes and Metolius in Oregon, fishing for salmon on the Columbia, and Bumping Lake in the Cascades. All these things he just could not enjoy. The haunting fear of water came back to him. You can say, the fishing trips were all destroyed. He could not enjoy the fishing trips, he could not enjoy the canoeing, he could not enjoy the boating, he could not enjoy the swimming. So this is what he could not just enjoy. And then he wanted to overcome this fear because he was missing out on the best part of the enjoyment of the water rides, of the fishing, of the boating, of the canoeing, of the swimming. So these were the major things that he could not just enjoy. So finally he decided to kind of hire an instructor for himself. So now the instructor started teaching him, and it was in October that he started, and practice for 5 days a week, an hour each day. So this is what he decided to do. Then the instructor, how did he teach him? So the instructor, he attached a rope to the belt which went through a pulley and then ran over head cable, and he held on one end of the rope. That means a rope was tied to a belt. The belt was tied to Douglas, and this rope went on the pulley, and the other end of the rope the instructor had in his hand. So he used to do back forth. He used to teach him swimming. He used to pull the rope, sometimes tighten it, sometimes loosen it. So moment he used to loosen the rope, he used to duck inside water, and then the old terror would return. But when he used to tighten the rope, he was up from the water and he kind of used to swim. So that is how he did. So it's given here that he held on to the end of the rope. He is the instructor, and we went back and forth across the pool, hour after hour, day after day. So 5 days a week, an hour each day. Okay, and week after week. So he started in October. On each trip across the pool, a bit of the panic seized me each time the instructor relaxed his hold on the rope, and the old terror would return. His legs would freeze. In 3 months before the tension began to slack, it was almost 3 months that took him to actually kind of relax. So After 3 months, he started relaxing a bit in the water. Then he taught me, how did he teach? He taught him to put the face under water and exhale and inhale, to raise the nose and inhale, and then put the face under the water and exhale. So exhale and inhale, that is what he taught. When he had to exhale, he was ducking inside water, and when he raised his nose, he was inhaling. So that is an exercise that he repeated hundreds of times. Bit by bit, I shed part of the panic that seized me when my head went underwater. So gradually he started overcoming his fear. So next exercise that he taught him was kicking off his legs. For weeks he did just that. At first the legs refused to work, but then gradually he learned that. So piece by piece a swimmer was built. So the instructor kind of taught him how to swim. And then in April, he started in October. In April, the instructor told him that now you can swim, dive off and swim the length of the pool crawl stroke. That was one stroke that he had been taught. So the instructor said, you do that. And then the instructor said that it's over, you have become a good swimmer now. But he had not finished. That means he was not really satisfied with whatever he had learned. He wanted to be more confident. So how did he do that? So this is another important question, that how did he do that? So till July, he kind of swam on his own in the pool alone. So tiny vestiges of the old terror did return, but he would frown and say to the terror, trying to scare me? Well, here's for you. Look, and he would go another time to do the full length of the pool. So till July he did that, but still he was not satisfied. So he went to the lakes to swim. So this is another important question, that where all did he swim? So he went to the lakes. Let's see which all lakes. He went to Lake Wentworth in Hampshire, New Hampshire. Dived off the dock at Triggs Island. Please remember these names. Lake Wentworth in New Hampshire. Dived off the dock at Triggs Island and swam 2 miles across the lake to Stampact Island. Then he swam crawl, breaststroke, side stroke and backstroke. So he tried everything. Only once the terror did return, but he was brave enough. In the middle of the lake, he put his face underwater, saw bottomless water, got scared. The old sensation did return, but in miniature, very little. He laughed and said, well, Mr. Terror, what do you think you can do to me? It fled and I swam on. So this is what he's trying to teach, that in case you have a phobia, you have a fear of something, you need to overcome it yourself. If you don't make an effort, you don't get it. You don't get the success. So let's say a simple example I will give you, that just in case you have that examination fear in you. So the best thing to do is to face it. And how do you face it? You make a proper schedule for yourself. You study according to the schedule, and you try to kind of overcome that fear of yours. So the more prepared you are, the better you feel. You do little bit of terror does come when you are facing the exam. You're a little bit scared, yes, but the more prepared you are, the better you will feel, the more confident you will feel, and you will perform better. So you need to face your fear, you need to face your terror and you need to overcome it in order to be successful. Had William not decided to do that, he would never have enjoyed the water rides, the canoeing, the boating, the swimming, the fishing. So he would not have enjoyed that. When he saw his friends enjoying it, he wanted to actually overcome his fear so that he could enjoy all these things, and he himself could do it. So the first thing that he did was to learn swimming. And he worked hard for it. Remember, children, another thing is working hard for what you want. If you don't really work hard, you don't get it. So there is no substitute for hard work. There is no substitute for your determination. See, he had learned swimming, he could have left at that. But he did not leave at that. He tried another time. Where all did he try? He tried in the pool alone for from April till July. He did that. And then when he was still not confident, then he chose the lakes. And that's not all. Just the last part, when he had swam in most of the lakes, he still had his residual doubts. Residual means remaining doubts. So the first opportunity that he got, he hurried west, went to the Titan to Conrad Meadows and the Conrad Creek Trail to Meade Glacier. Okay, so these were the difficult terrains to swim. He camped at the Meade Glacier and the high meadow by the side of Warm Lake. And from there, what did he do? The next morning, I stripped, as in he wore his swimming trunks and dived into the lake from the cliff and swam across to the other shore and back. Just as Doug Coppin, one of the very good swimmers. So he kind of copied him because Doug Coppin had used the same terrain to swim. So he shouted with joy when he had done that. And the Gilbert Peak returned the echo. I had conquered my fear of water. So finally, when he did the most difficult terrain, he realized that he had conquered the fear of water. The experience had a deep meaning for me, as only those who have known stark terror conquered it can appreciate. That means those who know about the terror, those who know about the fears, they only can understand the experience of winning or being successful, of overcoming your fear. So that's what he said. And then he made one statement which is like very, very important. All we have to fear is fear itself. And this was said by Roosevelt. This actually means that you need to be scared of only the fear you have, not of death. It's not the fear of death. It's the fear of that fear that you have that is going to pull you down. So you need to fear that fear and try to overcome it. Don't be afraid of the death. There is terror only in the fear of death. So don't be afraid of death. Just be afraid of the fear that you have and try to overcome the fear that you have. So because I had experienced both the sensation of dying and the terror that fear of it can produce, the will to live somehow grew in intensity. At last I felt released, free to walk the trails and climb the peaks and to brush aside the fear. So he had finally overcome his fear. So let's do these in text questions. It says, why was Douglas determined to overcome his fear of water, to get over his fear of water? Because he wanted to enjoy all those water rides. He wanted to go fishing. He wanted to go canoeing. He wanted to go boating. So that is why he wanted to overcome the fear. He saw his friends enjoying. So he wanted to do that. How did the instructor build a swimmer out of him? So I told you already, a belt was tied onto Douglas, at the waist the belt was tied. With that belt there was a rope. The rope went over the pulley. The other end of the rope was with the instructor. Instructor would pull him to and fro and he used to swim. The instructor would loosen at times the rope. He used to duck into water, get afraid of course, but gradually got over it. And when the rope was tightened, he used to swim. So that is what the instructor did. Then the next exercise was exhaling and inhaling that he was taught. Then he was kicking of the legs he was taught. And then he was asked to dive and swim. So that is what the swimmer did. So it started in October, then he finished in April, then from April to July he did it on his own in the pool, and then he did it in the lakes, and then he did it at the Conrad Meadows, Meade Glacier. Okay, so this is what it is. Just we'll check if we have another other set of in-text questions here. This I think we have already discussed. Yeah, this we have already discussed. So let's discuss these questions. The first one is, how does Douglas make clear to the reader the sense of panic that gripped him as he almost drowned? Describe the details that have made the description vivid. So it is the ordeal that has been explained. So that is the complete thing that has been explained when he was going down. So that is what is the part of the description. So let me just tell you. So this is what you can write for what he felt. He opened his eyes here. It seemed a long way down from here. It, he starts describing that when he, made the strategies, that when his feet would touch the bottom, he would gather all the courage and push himself up, and he would come on the surface like a cork, but nothing happened. He just saw water around, felt suffocating, water was full, his lungs were bursting. His eyes and nose did come up, but still he was not able to breathe. Then his legs felt limp, absolutely, and they were felt so heavy, like the weights, paralyzed, rigid. He felt dizzy, but still he remembered the strategy of pushing himself up, and he thought that he would lie flat on the water, strike out with arms, thrash with legs, and then just come out. But nothing happened. Only stark terror seized him. So this is what you can write in that question. And kind of describe it in detail. This would be a long answer. And how did Douglas overcome his fear of water? So this is when you write how he hired the instructor, how the instructor taught him, and then he swam all the lakes for overcoming the residual fear, and for a few months at the pool alone. That you can write. But if a question comes that how did Douglas finally overcome his fear, so then it is finally will be how he overcame the residual fear. That is the time you will write about all the lakes he swam, about the Conrad Creek, and how he overcame it. Okay. Why does Douglas, as an adult, recount a childhood experience of terror and his conquering of it? What larger meaning does he draw from this experience? See, this is an important question, children. Why did he remember it? So, it makes us think that why did he remember this fearful experience? He could have just forgotten it. But no. A person would never forget such kind of experiences, because they are near death experiences, and they leave a scar on your mind, indelible impression on your mind. And it is the incident where that boy threw him. It's kind of bullying. So bullying, a person never forgets. It will always leave a scar on your mind, and it's very difficult to overcome it. You have to really work hard to overcome such experiences. So that is why he remembered it, because they had scarred his mind. But he was courageous and determined enough to overcome that fear. He worked hard towards it. He wanted to overcome it. So this is what is in the chapter Deep Water by William Douglas. In fact, William Orville Douglas. So this is what we did today, and I hope you have understood now what all we did. We talked about the author. I hope you know about the author. It's already given that he was, first he was teaching. He did his Bachelor of Arts in English and Economics. Then he taught. He did not like it. Then he went into the legal profession. He was also the Chief Justice. He was also the advisor to the President of US, Franklin D. Roosevelt. So that is about the author. Then just about the lesson, that it is all about his autobiographical account of his near-death experience. 2 incidents that made him hate water, rather not hate, fear water. We did the meanings of the expressions, we did the explanation, we did the in-text questions, we did the literary devices. There were a few. We did a quick recap, we did the question answers. So here we've finished with Deep Water by William Douglas. Hope you've understood it well. So till we meet again, keep working hard, keep studying, and we meet next time with other chapter of Vistas. And any doubts, you can mail me or you can write in the comments. Thank you so much.